This video is brought to you by Soccer.com, North America's largest online soccer retailer. Don't forget to use coupon code 1SR4U13 at checkout for free shipping within the US on any order of $100 or more.
Hey guys, Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com bringing you a retro unboxing plus on-feet video of the Nike Mercurial Vapor 4. Now if you guys do enjoy the retro unboxing series on my channel, be sure to support this video with a like. A lot of time and effort goes into hunting down some of these older models that are, in all honesty, pretty difficult to come by. So we'll start off by taking a look at the label itself. I did manage to find a pair in my size, which is a 9 US, so you will see an on-feet portion later in the video. The colorway here is Citron, Classic Charcoal, and Metallic Silver. And for those of you guys that are interested, the shoe is made in Bosnia. So we'll open up the box here and get a good look at what is on the inside. The first extra that you get is this little brochure here. You can see it says Mercurial Vapor Super Light Supersonic. So when you open it up, the first thing you'll find is this little paragraph here explaining what super light supersonic means exactly. It's more of a marketing ploy than anything, but if you guys want to pause the video and read it for yourself, you definitely have that option. In the middle of the brochure, you will find two pictures of Cristiano Ronaldo, one of which where he's wearing a Manchester United jersey. Now keep in mind that this shoe released back in January of 2008, so at the time he still was playing for Manchester United, and that's just a little explanation as to why he's in a Man United jersey as opposed to Real Madrid. In the middle of the brochure, you find a picture of the shoe itself. This is the orange peel launch colorway of the Vapor 4. Very, very cool looking. And then on the right side of the brochure, you have all the technical specifications of the shoe listed, which we'll go over later in the video. So we'll get that out of the way. Of course, they did include a string bag like they would with any top-end model. This particular string bag matches the shoes pretty nicely. It's citron green in color. And then, of course, you do have your accenting Mercurial logo, Nike swoosh, and the strings on the bag are in that classic charcoal colorway. So I'll get that out of there, and we'll get the shoes out of the box so you guys can get a good look at these things, because this is, in my opinion, probably one of, if not the best looking shoe of all time, based on my opinion. I'm not saying this is like a definitive thing, it's just my personal opinion. I really am a big fan of how this shoe looks, and I'm really happy I was able to find a pair in this particular colorway, brand new in the box, in my size. They're pretty hard to come by nowadays. Not necessarily as difficult to come by as a pair of Vapor 3s, but still very, very rare, especially in brand new condition. Now, as far as what made the Vapor 4 such a controversial release, it has to do a lot with the lace cover on the boot itself. And before I even get to that, I wanted to mention, this is my personal favorite Vapor of all time, just from a look standpoint. Leave a comment down below. Let me know which one is your personal favorite from Vapors 1 to 9, just based on looks. I have a feeling that the Vapor 3 is going to be the most popular, but again, we'll see once you guys start to leave your comments. Now, like I was saying, the Vapor 4 was a controversial release because, one, it came after the Vapor 3, which is by many considered to be the best Vapor of all time in the series, even by today's standards in comparison to something like the Vapor 8 or the Vapor 9. But coming from the Vapor 3, which featured a very, very simple, very clean looking design, obviously Nike went for something that is a lot more kind of futuristic, a lot more complex in its design, not only in the graphics on the shoe, but also they included this lace cover, which a lot of people didn't like the look of, for one, and two, they didn't like how it felt. And when I talk about like how it felt, I'm not talking about from a performance standpoint, because once you had the shoe on your foot, the lace cover is thin and kind of low profile enough to where you really didn't notice it at all. But what everybody didn't like about the lace cover is, one, you could not remove it. It was completely fixed. There's no kind of fasteners or anything like that on either side, so you couldn't move it at all. And two, it made the shoes very, very difficult to take on and off because the opening was never large enough. And it didn't really matter how big or small your foot was. It was just a very, very difficult shoe to put on. And I will put them on my feet later in the video, so stick around for that. But the lace cover, it would stretch after you started to wear it a little bit, and it would make it the process a little bit more easy. But for the most part, a lot of people just ended up cutting these off. I know a lot of professionals that were wearing these with cut-off lace covers were Pato. I believe Drogba had the cut-off lace cover quite a few times, but Pato, I know, did it very, very consistently. Even a lot of people were just cutting them off themselves, but just keep in mind that kind of tampering with any kind of shoe and cutting off the lace cover, for example, does void your warranty. I had a pair of these back in the day in the anthracite color, for those of you guys that remember that one, and I didn't cut it off. It didn't really bother me all that much. It was kind of a pain in the butt to take them on and off, but once they were on, it didn't bother me at all. So really wasn't something that really concerned me too much about the shoe. Now, what was also controversial about the Vapor 4 is that it started to become very, very popular. The Mercurial series was picking up steam. Cristiano Ronaldo was the poster boy, and he was gaining popularity very, very quickly. And people started to want the Mercurial Vapor, and more so than they ever did. And what was controversial about the Vapor 4 is you had these two pink pads here on the inside, and they're made out of EVA foam. They're perforated, as you guys can see. And when you're just touching them with your hand, they don't appear to kind of be dangerous or appear to cause blisters or anything like that. They actually make a lot of sense. The design idea is to keep your heel locked down on the inside of the shoe, and it does that very, very well. But when you put them on, even for the first time, you will feel a lot of like squeezing and tightness and almost like friction immediately on the inside of the shoe, and they were really good for causing blisters. It didn't matter who you were. I know some people never ever get blisters. Those people who bought these shoes got blisters because it was just something that you were going to get indefinitely if you bought a pair of Vapor 4s. It didn't matter who you were. But once you got your blisters and they healed up, it wasn't something that you were going to get again. It's a weird thing. It was a weird phenomenon with this shoe, but they caused blisters really, really badly. And I'm not talking about little blisters. They were huge blisters. Some people were even bleeding. They were really, really bad, and they hurt a lot. But like I said, what was controversial about that is that people were still buying these shoes knowing that they were going to get blisters. Not necessarily on the early colorways, but the later colorways, once people had kind of caught on that, yeah, these were going to give you blisters, a lot of the retail stores would actually make your parents or make you sign a contract, not necessarily a contract, but sign this piece of paper saying that I'm buying these shoes knowing that I'm going to get blisters and I cannot return them back to the store or complain just because I got blisters. And people would still buy the shoes even though they were warned and had to sign a contract to let them know that they were going to get blisters from this shoe. So that's pretty crazy. I was one of those people, but I had them at the launch, so I wasn't really aware that I was going to get the blisters. But after everything is said and done, looking back, I have to say that the pads of the shoe itself really did kind of make the overall feel of the shoe. It really did help to lock your heel down on the inside. And I'm not sure if the feel of the shoe would have been the same had these pads not been in there. So was it a design flaw in the shoe itself? I'm not really sure. I'd be curious to know if a lot of the professionals who were wearing the Vapor 4s at the time did have the pads on the inside, or they just had completely clean custom ones from Nike. That'd be something that I'd be curious to know. But overall, it's definitely kind of a unique story to go along with the Vapor 4, mainly because it was so controversial, not only in its design, but also in how it's fit and the blisters that it did cause. Now, as far as the upper itself goes, the upper is made from a Tahitian synthetic material. It's a little bit thicker than what you're going to find in modern Tahitian synthetic, even thicker than the previous model, which was the Vapor 3. It's a one-piece design, as you can see. You got your stitching going across this kind of seam through the midfoot and forefoot on the side, on both the inside and outside of the shoe, and that would kind of wrap all the way around, and it's obviously covered up here by this kind of glass fiber stabilizing plate, if you will. Now, as far as the colorway itself goes, just to touch on that very, very quickly, this is the Citron green color, very, very unique, very vibrant. And what's cool about all the Vapor 4s is they had this kind of grainy looking, almost like a paint stroke kind of finish about them. You guys can see the lines going this way on the upper. Hopefully you can. It has a very unique finish about it, very, very shiny, metallic looking. And one thing that to note about the Vapor 4 is that for whatever reason, they could never get the color of the lace cover to match the color of the upper. It was always a little bit off. Hopefully you guys can see that in the video. It's not a mistake. It's not an age thing. It's just because it is two separate materials, and for whatever reason, the colors would never match perfectly. They matched a little bit better on the darker colors than they did on the lighter colors, like the Citron I have here. But for the most part, it wasn't something that you could really notice from a distance. Just up close in proper lighting, you would see that the lace cover didn't quite match the color of the upper itself. Now, as far as accent colors go, you do have your classic charcoal, which ended up being more of like a dark blue. I'm not sure how it's going to show up on camera. You would expect charcoal to be more of like a grayish black, but it ended up being more of a blue. So you have that in the Nike swoosh that flows with the design of the lace cover, which is kind of more of what you're going to see from a more modern design in the Mercurial series, with this more kind of very large Nike swoosh. Kind of an unusual placement as well. You have your one classic charcoal Nike swoosh here on the instep, and then of course the one more at the bottom of the sole plate, and the studs themselves are in that classic charcoal as well. And then of course you do have your metallic silver in the Mercurial logo on the lace cover, and of course these kind of racing stripes, I guess you could call it a racing stripe going across the toe box and forefoot area. Really big fan of how that looks, especially on this particular colorway. And then of course the stabilizing plate here wrapping across the heel area as well as the midfoot is actually made out of a glass fiber material, so that's why it is a metallic silver. It looks very, very cool and has a very kind of futuristic, modern look about the shoe itself. You got a Mercurial logo right there on the inside as well, in kind of like a purple-like color. Very, very cool. As far as the insole itself goes, I'll give you guys a quick look at that. Kind of a unique shape to the shoe itself. It wasn't as narrow cut as previous Vapors and current Vapors are. You can see how wide the base of the forefoot area, or the midfoot area is, and Nike did go for a completely different shape with the Vapor 4, coming off of the Vapor 3, which was a much more narrow, tighter fitting shoe. Not sure why they went with something that is so wide. There was a little bit of extra room on the inside of the shoe in comparison to previous and current model Vapors. But in all honesty, it still fit very, very comfortably. Still had that high quality fit you would expect from a Mercurial Vapor. Some people just didn't like it, and some people really loved it. I'm one of the people that really did like the feel of this particular shoe. You got your synthetic leather heel liner on the top, or synthetic leather liner on the top, I should say, and that's a little bit different than what you're going to find on current model Vapors. It's actually a very dense foam material, and then you have a perforated, kind of more soft cushion foam here at the bottom. It's a lot more heavy duty than what you're going to find on current Vapor insoles, and overall definitely did its part in providing that nice step in comfort, which is what you would expect from pretty much any soccer shoe. Now, as far as the glass fiber sole, or heel counter I should say, basically this was there just to stabilize the shoe itself. It provided plenty of rigidity from like a lateral standpoint and really did a good job of locking your heel in place. It probably did play its part in kind of causing these blisters on your heel. I'm not sure. These two little pieces kind of stick up here, and you can feel that there isn't much padding between the back of your heel and this external heel counter right there. So that may have been part of the reason why you did get such bad blisters on the back of your heels with this particular shoe. But again, who's to say that this is the cause? But very cool design, and it does have an internal plastic heel counter underneath as well, if you guys can hear that. So pretty cool design. It wraps all the way around. As you guys can see, it is one single piece from what I can tell. And it kind of stiffens the midfoot as well. The sole plate itself is kind of a unique design. You have an internal plastic sole plate on the inside. It says in the technical specifications that there is some kind of carbon fiber through the midfoot. You can see that there is a Mercurial logo right there on the inside, and kind of like a black, almost carbon fiber looking material. But from what I can tell, I can't see any kind of carbon fiber weave. It's very possible that that is a carbon fiber shank running through the midfoot area, but again, it's very difficult to say. But that area of the shoe is definitely the stiffest, a lot stiffer than what you're going to find in the forefoot, which is 100% made out of a 2PU plastic. And then of course you do have kind of this unique wrapping over top of the sole plate itself. They kind of went with the same finish across the entire shoe, so it was prone to scraping and ripping if you did hit something sharp, which was a bit of a bummer when it did happen, but it didn't hurt the overall performance or durability of the shoe for that matter. And then of course you do have your kind of plate base on the shoe itself, which is what holds all the studs. Similar design to what they still do today. You got your two parts here for the back heel studs, 4 studs in total as you can see. And then this is of course the classic Mercurial stud pattern. So this stud pattern was featured on Mercurial Vapors 1 to 5. The 6 and 7 featured a new stud pattern, not including the Superflies of course. And then going from the Vapor 8 to the Vapor 9, they changed the stud pattern to what it is now today. Obviously it's a lot different in comparison to this stud pattern. The only similarity you're going to find are these 2 studs here at the tip of the inside of the toe. But basically the whole idea and how they designed this particular stud pattern was based around foot mapping. They looked at how your foot stands barefoot and where all the pressure is under your feet, and they tried to put studs where that pressure was, so you would have studs with obviously angles that were kind of according to push-off points on the bottom of your foot. So you had studs in the places where they needed to be, and it was a very kind of cool idea, very cool concept, and overall the stud pattern performed accordingly. It works really, really well, and even to this day I think a lot of pros still get this particular stud pattern put on their Mercurial Vapors or even other models. These are obviously professionals who are getting custom shoes made by them, for them by Nike, so it's not something that's available to the public, but it is cool to know that this is a stud pattern that is still around and being used today by professionals out there, even though it isn't really available to you, unfortunately. So that's pretty much it as far as the unboxing portion of this video goes. And move on to a quick weigh-in so you can see how lightweight these guys are in comparison to a modern Mercurial Vapor. Now, it's pretty safe to say that in the last 5 years, with the Vapor 5 being 5.5 years old now, soccer shoe technology has changed tremendously, and with that change in technology, shoes are becoming lighter and lighter. So while at the time the Mercurial Vapor 4 was not necessarily an ultra lightweight soccer shoe, but it was one of the lighter models available on the market, I thought it'd be pretty fun to compare the weight of this shoe against the weight of a modern Vapor 9. So throw the Vapor 4 on the scale first. Keep in mind that this is a brand new pair in a size 9 US. Both of these shoes are, so it's a very fair comparison. We'll throw the shoe on the scale. I think it had a listed weight around 8 ounces or so, and you can see that they weigh in at 9.1 ounces. So by today's standards, most people would not consider this shoe to be lightweight, but back 5.5 years ago, this was one of the shoes that pretty much everybody wanted, mainly because it was very, very light. So I'll take that off the scale, and it doesn't feel heavy in your hands. Just keep that in mind. We'll throw the Vapor 9 on the scale, a shoe a lot of you guys are familiar with. And you can see that these guys weigh in at 6.8 ounces, so very, very lightweight. Basically 2 ounces, a little more than 2 ounces lighter than the Vapor 4, which is a pretty dramatic difference. You will notice the difference both on feet as well as in hand, but does that really affect your performance? In all honesty, no. And obviously the build quality is a lot different between the Vapor 9 and the Vapor 4. So that's pretty much it as far as the weigh-in portion of the video goes. And move on to a quick on feet so you can get a better idea as to how these shoes fit. Alright, here's a look at the Vapor 4s on feet. And after putting these on for the first time in, let's say, 5 years or so, I'm actually really surprised by how these shoes fit, in that they fit nothing like the current model Mercurial Vapors. They have a much wider cut about them, they're much more forgiving, and it's going to fit a lot more foot types than any of the current model Vapors. With that being said, I just don't think that the fit is as high quality as what you're going to get in the current model Vapors. There's a little bit of extra wiggle room in the toe box. The forefoot area and midfoot is not quite as form-fitting as what you're going to find in the current model Vapor 9s, for example. And overall, I just don't think it's as comfortable either. I think that they did make the right call going with a more slim silhouette, a more narrow cut to the shoe itself, just because it made for a much better fit and a much better feel in the long run. With that being said, would I still want to wear a pair of these? Absolutely, just for the nostalgic factor of the shoe itself. I did have a pair of these back in the day, and overall, I just really love how this shoe looks. As far as those blister pads go, I definitely can feel a little bit of friction on the back of the heels just from standing here. So after, I'm sure, running around for about 10-20 minutes, you definitely would get some of those blisters developing and be out of commission for at least a week or so once you got those really bad blisters on your heel. So just here is a look at the shoes on feet. Again, very, very good looking shoe. You probably can see a little bit of a discoloration or a difference in color between the lace cover and the shoe itself. Again, like I mentioned earlier, this is completely normal for the Vapor 4. For those of you that are interested in sizing, I'm wearing my usual size 9 US here, and the fit and length is absolutely perfect. So if you do come across a pair that you want to purchase for yourself, I would strongly recommend just going for your normal size. So that's pretty much it as far as the on-feet portion of this video goes, and I'll leave you to my final thoughts. Alright guys, that's it for my retro unboxing of the Nike Mercurial Vapor 4. As mentioned earlier, it is one of my personal favorite in the iconic Nike Mercurial Vapor series. Again, leave a comment down below, let me know which one is your personal favorite. If you guys would like some more detailed images on this shoe, be sure to check out the review page on my website, which you can find linked down below in the description. I'll leave some annotations on screen to other retro unboxings that I have, if you want to check those out as well. Any questions on the shoe, feel free to leave a comment down below. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest soccer gear. You can find all of my social media links down below in the description. And other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.